totally impromptu, but I don't know if many of you guys know. First of all, I'm Melissa Muir, if you don't already know that. Secondly, once again, I am one of the jurors for the fold forming competition. And the fold forming competition is something that's been really big for many years. I think this is probably its 16th or 17th year. It might actually even be more than that. Not totally positive. But I have the pleasure of working with Charles Luton Brain and Sue Lacey, who have been the organizers of this from way back when. And for my third year in a row, I get to be one of the jurors. And fold forming is kind of fun. And about 4 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago now, I was actually just up in Canada with Charles, and we filmed a whole lot of these fold forms. Like, I think we did 50, or I don't think there was 60, but between 50 and 60 forms that we recorded and filmed. So I'm going to be launching those videos today, starting with one of them. I don't have them all done yet. We're going to be rolling these out throughout the year. And so, the competition is going to end here on the 31st, I believe. So you've got a few more days if you guys want to do something. And a lot of people get a little bit weirded out when they're entering competitions. And I thought I would just show you very, very quickly how easy it can be. Yes, we are going to have some of those people who enter these grand and glorious things, but they don't know. I can't even English today. They're not always the ones who win. All right. The ones who win actually put in some work, some thought, some effort, and they have a good control of their form. And we have some people who are brand new. And, again, like I said, some people just don't quite understand what all of it is entailed. Now, in the first video that I'm going to be releasing today with Charles, he's going to cover a basic line fold. Okay, and it's the most basic form you can get when you're doing fold forms. Essentially, you're going to fold it over and you're going to set that form, and you're going to open it back up and you'll set that fold. And so then you can start to use it. Well, I had a friend the other day that I was on a Zoom conference with, and she had this really cool pair of earrings, but she had made them in metal clay. From where I was sitting, it looked like it had been fold formed, and I asked her if I could replicate them with a fold forming technique. And she said, yes, please do. So that's what we are going to do here. So let me bring you over to where I've got my stuff set up. So I've already created a couple of washers here, and I'm working with sterling silver. This is 24 gauge, which is 0.5 millimeter thick. Okay, so I've created 2 washers, and essentially what's going to happen is these are going to kind of hang kind of like that, but we are going to be fold forming the squares here. And I don't need a whole lot in order to do this. In my case, I'm going to be using a planishing hammer, which seems to have disappeared, which is not good. So I will pick a different planishing hammer. So I'm going to use a planishing hammer. Planishing hammers have one side that's slightly curved and one side that's kind of flat. All right. And then I've got the 2 pieces of 1 inch by 1 inch sterling silver that I'm going to use. And I'm going to put the fold into this. Now, one of the best ways for me to do this, because I want this so that I go from corner to corner on here. And so I've mounted a bench block. Why a bench block? My bench blocks have a nice crisp corner on it. And that is one of the things that I'm going to want here, so that I can, and I'm going to just put this here. So I've got my corners lined up on the bench block, and I'm just going to push just like that. And I did anneal this already, which is why I was able to bend that over. Okay, now I'm going to do one other thing here, because I really want this crease to be right there along that edge. So I'm just going to grab, and that's going to help me kind of set that corner in there. You can kind of see that. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to move that back over to my block there. But before I do that, I'm going to get this other one set up just like that as well. So corner to corner. Now, what if I do this and I mess it up? I don't get it corner to corner. Well, there's this great thing called jeweler's shears or a saw or anything like that where you can cut it away, right? And you can get it back to that square as well. So we have options, but I am gonna just kind of set that corner. All right, gonna come back over here to my big block. This is a big old 8 by 10 piece of steel, hardened steel. It's kind of lovely. Now, I don't want to do this with a metal hammer. You can do this with a rawhide, or you can do it even with a nylon. Okay, but I'm going to do my best here to get this closed down with my fingers so that I can get these 2 points to meet. And you guys, I do have very, very strong hands. So that's something to keep in mind as well. But when you're working with 24 gauge, oh, I'm off a little bit right here. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see this, but see how my points don't line up? And right here, I can see that that's where my problem is. So sometimes, and I don't know if it's gonna work right now or not, because it's kind of small, but sometimes, there we go. You can just kind of knock it with the hammer and see how much better we're looking right now. So it's a lot more lined up. Okay, so I'm gonna hold on to this part down here, which is gonna be called our legs. See, they're the little legs. So they're the little legs that we're working with. And I'm gonna hold on to that while I then go in to set this fold. Now, I'm also going to fold it over so that I come at it from a different angle. And all the while, I'm watching my points here. I may be right on and I might be off a little bit. And if I'm off a little bit, it's not a big deal. It's handmade. Okay, so there we go. So now I've got that. I'm gonna just kind of hammer right there on the edge. Now, by doing this with a nylon or a rawhide mallet, I'm not leaving any marks really. I'm not stretching it. I'm just doing a fold. Okay, and I'm gonna pinch it pretty tight. So you can see I've got a nice hair tip, that hairpin turn, and it's tight. I'm gonna do the same thing on this piece. And I can see that it's off just slightly. Oh, that one I hammered and he's off. You can see that it didn't line up totally perfect. Oh, well, it is what it is. It's a design change, guys. We do design changes in jewelry, but it'll be all right. Okay. So once again, I'm gonna set this just like so. Now, if I wanted to open this right now, I could maybe, like this is gonna be pretty tough to open. So what we need to do is we need to go over and anneal this, and then we can open it back up. When I open, I like to use a little watchmaker's knife, and that allows me to easily get into that fold to open it up. But let's go over to the torch, and I'm gonna open this up. Don't look at the studio. It's a big mess. But, you know, it's right before Christmas, so what do you expect? Okay, so I'm gonna put this into my pumice here, and I'm just gonna use a butane torch, and I'm just gonna heat things up. All right. And then I'll heat it up on the other side as well. I'm watching for, I get this oxidation on here, and then when I hit it with a torch, see how it goes clean like that? That's what I want to see. The other thing that I end up seeing is my flame kind of bounces orange a bit. Okay, I'm going to quench this, and then we're going to pickle all of that too. But let's do this part first. So I'm going to warm this guy up. Notice that I pull away, and that's important because I need to be able to see what stage my metal is really truly at. And if I just leave my torch on there, I can easily overheat that. Okay, and that's more important when I'm working with sterling versus if I'm working with, say, let's copper. Okay, now typically I would throw this into the pickle, but to keep the video shorter, we're not going to. So I'm going to dry this off. This is what aprons are for, right? Everybody should have an apron in their studio. All right, back over to our block. All right, so I'm going to slip this in here, and I'm just going to bring that in. And I'm going to use my fingers here to kind of open this back up. All right, and so now we start to see that little bit of a form that we have in here. You also want to be careful because notice I opened it up and it's a little bit wet. So you want to be careful of your tools. Nobody likes rusty tools. I don't like rusty tools. I don't know, maybe you do. Gives it a different look, but I like my tools non-rusty. All right, so come back into this guy here. Open him up. Now, as Charles will say, always keep metal in between your fingers and the blade. It's much less painful that way. Much less painful? Yeah, much less painful. Much, much less painful. Okay, so the other thing that I want to do now, because I'm going to have a ridge here regardless because of how tight I made that form. But I want to open this up as much as I can with my hands. Okay, and one of two things are going to happen. Either it's going to open up beautifully or it might tip a little bit. And in this case, this one opened beautifully. It's nice and it's even. This one tipped a little. You can see where it's off just ever so slight. Now, typically what I would do, and this is already getting really hard, so I may actually need to go back and anneal it again, but I'm not going to right now because, you know, we don't have time for that. I am going to lay it right here on the edge of this block, or I might set it on the floor for a second. But I'm going to lay it right here on the edge of my block, and I'm going to use my hammer to help me open that up. Okay, and that helped open that up a little bit more as well. Now from here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open this. I'm going to flatten this out just a smidge. Now, I don't want to do too much here on the ridge because I want to take this planishing hammer and I want to set the edge of this. Now, this can be done before you open it or it can be done afterwards. Okay, there's a couple different things, and Charles will explain all of that in the video series that we're going to be putting out here. But I want to go ahead and do this. Now, by coming straight down on this, or even if I come in at a little bit of an angle, I am pinching my metal in between two pieces of steel. And that is going to give me a hard spot. All right, and that's what helps me to set this fold. So I'm pinching in between this piece of steel and this piece of steel. So if I come straight down, then the top part is going to have a harder surface because it touched here. And the two sides here on the bottom, and you can see where it has made contact with that bench block. And it now has a harder structure as well. All right, so we're just gonna kind of bring that down. And this one, you know, I could call that good if I wanted to, but I don't like really how ripply it is. If I want it to be more flat, I'm just gonna take that nylon, or again, you could take a rawhide. I like my nylon because it can get a little bit tighter into some of these places. And for me, my nylon leaves a fewer marks than what my rawhide will. But there is that piece. Now let's do it again. So again, I'm going to open this up as much as I can with my fingers, but I'm really there. I'm there as much as I can, and maybe I need to go further. And this piece has tipped right there. So again, I'm going to employ that same method that I did to just kind of help me open that up a little bit. And notice he didn't go quite to the point. So Sometimes that happens, darn it. And at this point, I could just file away here to bring and move that point over. Like, you have a number of options. But I'm gonna go ahead and set that edge again. And you can hear when it actually starts to hit that bench block. And it doesn't take much. And now I'm gonna flatten this out again. Okay. And there are these two pieces. Now, for me, what would happen next is I would pickle all of this, and then I'm gonna remove the sharp edges here on these pieces, just like so. Okay, and I may trim these up a little bit so that they become a little more perfect for their shape and their squareness. Then I would punch holes, hang my hair wires. You know, it's a couple days before Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody. But anyway, I would hang my ear wires, and then I would call that good. Now, at that point, you know, I could always set stones on there, or I could just leave it as the silver. If I wanted to add more texture to this, I absolutely could. So let's say we want to add a little bit of texture. One of my favorite hammers is a frets texturing hammer here. And let's find that little hammer. Here we go. We'll use the little riveting hammer. So I actually have a couple of them. There's a sharp texturing hammer that's very small, and then I've got my riveting hammer. But either way, I'm looking for that cross peen. So in this case, I'm gonna do just one side on each one of these, and I'm just gonna use this hammer just to add a little bit of a texture in here. So it doesn't take a whole lot, but look at how that's gonna change it. Now, once this pickles and I remove all that oxidation, that's gonna be beautiful. Normally, I do not hammer before I've oxidized because you can actually take and knock that oxidation into your piece. But now we're gonna have something that looks a little bit more like this. I am gonna take these down just a little bit. Either that, or I may actually go back and make some larger washers. I'm not loving the scale of this at this point. So again, design changes. So anyway, thank you guys for joining me. Very impromptu. As far as live videos go, I was kind of like, do I do it? Do I not? But it's my holiday gift to all of you guys. As always, if you guys like the videos, make sure you like, subscribe, do all the things, and then leave comments, leave questions. Now, if you guys want to know more about that fold forming competition, please join us both on the Facebook group. It's just called Fold Forming. Join us there, and you can work with everybody in there. This whole series is going to be fun. It is meant to work through a lot of the different projects that are in Charles Luton Brain's Fold Forming book. They're not projects of finished pieces, but it's all about techniques. And then all of these videos that I'm going to be releasing over the next year or so are going to go along with that. Like I said, we did about 50 different pieces. So it's going to be quite a library full of information. We would love to see any of your pieces in the fold forming competition itself. And you know what? You cannot win if you do not enter. The deadline is December 31st, and I hope to see your piece on there too. So you guys have a wonderful holiday season, and we'll see you guys soon.